So thank you so much for having me here today. When Scotty asked me, I felt very honored because Scotty has been a big part of my business and with my story that I'm going to tell today. So I felt very honored that he asked me to be here today. So yes, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was quite cold there, but it was way cooler here. So good for you guys for getting out here in the cold. So I've been a coach for 4 years, and I have been a full-time coach for a year and a half. And today I'm going to be talking about being intentional in 2017, but I'm just going to take you kind of through a little story of how I actually got here today. So I'm a very visual person. I was a teacher for 10 years, so I am very much a visual learner. Any other visual learners? Any other teachers? Any teachers? Okay, a couple teachers. All right, awesome. So I always had health and fitness. Growing up, I've always been an active person. I was a soccer player all my life. I was a dancer. I was a cheerleader. So I always had that as part of my life. I actually, in high school, got a gym membership at a local gym, Valley Total Fitness, and fell in love with group fitness. So in my high school years, when I was playing soccer and going to the gym, I think that's when I really, really fell in love with health and fitness. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I decided that I wanted to be a teacher when I was in first grade. I fell in love with my first grade teacher, and my whole life I knew that that's what I was going to do. So imagining myself here right now, not as an elementary school teacher, is kind of funny. So I knew I wanted to go to Penn State University. I went to Penn State University, got my elementary education degree, and through my high school years and college years, and I'm sure many of you other women in the room can relate, getting wrapped up into that body image, self-image, your weight on the scale. I was very much in that, wrapped up in all of that. Something that I wasn't, thinking back, I've grown and gotten away from that completely now after my years of coaching. It's definitely something that now I have 2 children, and I hope that, I have a little girl who's 4.5 years old, and I hope that she does not go through that. But at the beginning of the years, maybe some of you can relate, when I was in college, didn't take care of myself very well. But I did come home after my sophomore year of college, and I ended up getting a job at the local gym that I had been going to. And I actually met my husband there that summer. And I also was working in the childcare area because I was going to school for education. And I also worked in the juice bar, which is funny to think back because I made all of those protein shakes for people. I added so much junk into those shakes. And the things that the amount that people paid for it, and thinking now that, I drink Shakeology and how we get those price objections, it always amazes me. So after I went back to school that year, after that summer, I definitely started taking care of myself much more. I graduated college in December. I went 4.5 years at school, and I subbed for a little while and actually was able to get a job the following school year. It was my dream job. I got a job teaching 2nd grade, which I told Scotty's daughters, I asked them what grade they were in. They said 2nd and 4th, and those were the 2 grades that I taught. So I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was my dream job. In my mind, I was going to be a teacher for 35 years, retire from teaching, love every moment of it, and that was that. That was where my head was. So my husband actually proposed to me. If you look at the top left, my first year of teaching, I had an incredible class. Like I said, not only did I have the dream job, but I had the dream classroom my first year. How lucky am I? So it's hard to see, but he came into my classroom and actually proposed to me there my first year of teaching. That just shows you how significant teaching was, just a huge part of my life. So, but now we've been married for almost 10 years. And after we got married, we decided that, that we wanted to start planning to have a family. And that's when I decided to kind of start changing that mindset, where I wasn't so concerned with worrying about the number on the scale or how I looked. I basically wanted to be the healthiest that I could be in order to carry my children and to have healthy pregnancies and healthy children. So I did just that. I was pregnant with my son, and I actually worked out my entire pregnancy. I would go to the gym, take those group exercise classes, because that's what I love to do. I would do, strength training. I did my own thing, never had really a plan, but, it was fine, worked for me. I was able to work out the entire time. I actually took a fitness class the day before I had my son. I think I scared the people in the gym when I was there, working, being 9 months pregnant. And I actually had my son on New Year's Eve, which we just celebrated his 7th birthday, which was kind of crazy. And after I had my son, and I'm sure other moms can relate, things got more difficult. I didn't have the freedom to just pick up and go to the gym whenever I wanted to. I had my son that I was responsible for, and I was on maternity leave, but obviously my husband was working, and you worry about putting your child in, in the child care area, the germs, all that kind of stuff. So I decided to start jogging. I got a jogger stroller, and I decided that I was going to take Jordan with me and that I would run and still try to get to those classes. So I started jogging, and I had run some like 5Ks and stuff. Actually, my dad is a runner. He has run like 35 plus marathons. And I think that he was so into running. I don't know, I guess in my teenage years, I was kind of like, whoa, Dad, too much for me. So I never really got into that much. But as I started running, really like walking and running and walking and running and built myself up, I loved the feeling of accomplishment as I ran a little bit longer, or I added an extra mile or an extra 2 miles. So it got to the point where I'm the type of person I am. I love that challenge. So I decided that I was going to sign up for a half marathon. And so this was after my son was born. He was about almost a year old when I was supposed to run this half marathon. Well, it ends up that this was called the Spirit of Pittsburgh half marathon that was in the fall. It got canceled like 2 months before, and I had been training. I was up to 10 miles, and the Pittsburgh marathon and half marathon that is yearly was in May. So I thought to myself, how am I gonna just wait? It's 7 months till then, and I'm up to 10 miles. I'm just gonna go for the full marathon. So I did. I set that challenge for myself, and I ended up running the full marathon in May of 2011. It was a very big accomplishment for me, and since then I've run 2 half marathons and another full marathon as well. But it's funny, I still don't consider myself a runner per se, because after my last marathon that I ran last year in November, I ran the Philadelphia Marathon. I was so excited to get back to my 30-minute workouts. Because like Kay said, running 3 hours a day and how much time you spend, it's crazy. So I could not wait. And then again, I ran a 10-mile race in the fall, and again, could not wait to get back to 21 Day Fix Extreme, where it was 30-minute workouts. We get spoiled with those workouts. So it was right at that time when I ran the marathon that I just had a lot of life circumstances that kind of rocked my world a bit. It was then when my school district started making pretty big budget cuts. That school year, there were a ton of teachers that were furloughed. And at that point, I had been teaching for 6 years. So I was teaching second grade for 6 years. And I was, just the way seniority works and with our union and everything, I actually was displaced. And it wasn't my choice. And I was so grateful I still had a job. But I was moved to 4th grade. And might not seem like a huge difference from 2nd to 4th grade, but it was a big jump. And that year, I just felt like, okay, I can do this. I had my son Jordan, I was a full-time teacher, I could do this working mom thing, I had that confidence. And then they moved me, and it wasn't my choice. And all these teachers were getting furloughed. I mean, there was so much movement in our entire district. That year that I taught, my first year in 4th grade, we had only 2 4th grade teachers. And then the rest were a 2nd grade teacher, a 1st grade teacher, a technology teacher, a music teacher, and a foreign language teacher. That's how the bumping went in our district. So things just really felt different. It was, that job that I loved and was my dream job, and I had so much joy. It wasn't feeling quite the same. I also found out that shortly after I ran the marathon, a couple months later, I was pregnant with my second child, my daughter, and we were also moving into a new house, and then I was starting this brand new position. Felt like I was a first-year teacher again, just starting all over. So I realize all of this now was like all part of me getting here to where I am today. So it wasn't too far after I had my daughter, I actually had to go back to work earlier. I had, just with Jordan being born, New Year's Eve, and I don't have paid time per se with teaching, but if I have enough sick days, I can take those sick days. And with the way the school year falls and having some time off in the summer, I was able to be home for the most part about 8.5 months with Jordan. But when it came time for my daughter, I had only about 5 months. And at that point, now you have 2 children in the mix, it was even harder to figure out how I was going to lose the baby weight. With Jordan, I bounced back. I had no problems whatsoever. With Ashlyn, it's funny how pregnancies are different, totally different story. I had such a difficult time. And then I had to go back to work sooner, and I was in this position where I was displaced, negativity surrounding me. I wasn't happy. I was not feeling good. I was so upset to leave my children. And in the back of my mind, I always thought, I accepted that I was just going to be this teacher. I was going to be a working mom away from the home, and I was okay with that. But things started to feel a little bit different. So it was not too much longer after I got back from maternity leave, after those 5 months being home with my daughter, that my coach approached me. And she actually approached me about joining a challenge group that was just specifically for moms. And at that point in time, I had, no desire to work out at home, because I felt that the workouts that I would get at the gym or running, that was how I was going to get my best workouts. Rob and I had actually, my husband and I had actually dabbled with P90X a little bit. He had asked for P90X one Christmas, and I tried it out a little bit. It wasn't necessarily my thing, but I tried. But he actually, while I was pregnant with Ashlyn and I didn't try it, got Insanity from Craigslist, which is ironic. And so I ended up deciding that if what did I have to lose? At this point, I wanted to maintain my health and fitness. I knew that that was important for me. I knew that was important for my family. So I figured I didn't have anything to lose by joining this challenge group and deciding to try Insanity. It turns out that I absolutely loved Insanity. I absolutely loved Shanti, and I got the best workout. And I just fell in love with it. Has anyone done Insanity in here? Anyone? Okay, all right. So it was I still say like my soulmate program. It was the classes that I used to take at the gym. I almost compare them to what I did with Insanity. So I ended up doing Insanity in my classroom right after school. My students would leave. I would have my gym bag ready. I would run across the hall, get changed really quick, go to my classroom, throw it up on the smart board, and get my workout in. I started to ask people to join me, and I was just working out right after school before I had to go pick up my kids. And then I would also do it at home. And shortly thereafter, so I didn't start out with drinking Shakeology as well. Shortly after, I decided I was going to try Shakeology. And again, I was one of those people that didn't want to work out at home. How many times do we hear that? I can't get a good workout at home. I have to go to the gym. And now, here, I was willing to try this shake where I was not a shake drinker. I didn't think that I wanted to drink my breakfast. However, I looked at those ingredients. I looked at the amount of nutrition that was in that shake, and I was determined to like it. And sure enough, I added Shakeology to the mix, and after 9 months, took me a lot longer, after 9 months, I was able to finally feel more like myself, lose all the baby weight between Insanity and with Shakeology. So it only seemed natural to become a coach. So when my coach approached me, it made sense. I talked to my husband a bit, I thought about it a bit, if we could get Shakeology at a discount, that's great, because my husband and I both wanted to drink Shakeology. I loved the workouts, and if I could help a few people feel the way that I felt, okay. Oh no, what happened? Oh, there we go. If I could have people feel the way that I felt, then that would be great. So my topic is about being intentional, and I would say the first year and a half of my business was very unintentional. I did it for fun. It was a hobby. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. It brought lots of joy to my life, but I was not intentional. But I think a big part of that was because I didn't understand the bigger picture. I didn't see what was truly possible. So this shows you what was my first turning point. So I actually signed up in January, and that June was Summit in Las Vegas, the year before this, not this year. So that would have been in 2013, and I remember seeing everyone's posts and everyone there, and I was kicking myself that I was not at Summit that year. And I can't even tell you how much of a difference live events are. So the fact that you're here today, you should high five your neighbor right now and tell them, great job for being here. And how many of you are signed up for Summit this year? Awesome. Those of you without your hand up, what are you waiting for? Definitely get signed up. So this was a big turning point, because I remember saying to Rob, you know what, we're going to Summit next year. I want to do this. I took him with me to the first Summit, and so not only did I see the bigger picture, but Rob saw the bigger picture as well, which I think was so important. So my first year and a half up until then was pretty much just winging it. I did my thing. I wanted to work out. I wanted to drink my shakes. I did, however, get my Insanity certification. So when I signed up, Insanity certification, and I told you before, I love group fitness. I thought so much about getting my my certification as a fitness instructor, but always put it on the back burner with college and getting married and kids and everything going on. So in my mind, when I became a coach, I thought, oh, this is kind of like my way of getting into health and fitness. And then shortly after, Insanity certification came out. It was perfect. So, and that was my program. So I got certified right away with that, and I did start teaching classes right away. So that was a big thing that I did when I first started. So I went to my first summit in June of 2014, and like I said, I took Rob with me, and it was an incredible experience. I remember sitting in those trainings being so engaged and so interested in what I was hearing and what I was learning. And I remember I had my husband there and my one coach with me. And I remember saying to her, I have never been this interested or engaged in a teacher in service meeting or professional development whatsoever. So it was just a tremendous experience, and I definitely recommend getting there. I went home from that so incredibly motivated and realizing that maybe this wasn't just something I wanted to do for fun or as a hobby, and this was something that I wanted to engage in more. I wanted to help more people. I wanted to reach out to more people. And by going to events like this or going to Summit, you see that bigger picture. You see what is possible. And I wanted to do more with my coaching business. So at that point in time, I still had no desire to go full-time. I saw some coaches that were going full-time as a Beachbody coach. I even had a friend of mine who was a coach who, and she reminded me of this on my day that I became a full-time coach, but she went full-time. It was Sandy Tachi, and she, I congratulated her, and she was like, when's your date? And I was like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, I'm not going full-time. I still had no intention of doing that, but I loved what I did, and I was willing to put in more effort and time with the business. And the education environment at my school was getting worse. It was still not, it has changed so much. For my teachers in the room, I'm sure you can understand that it was just such a shift with testing and expectations and just things going on. And like I said, with all those shifts, people were just not happy campers at my school. So I did have another turning point in my business. So we all go through seasons of coaching, right? Meaning that we know, especially in our lives, when we have a lot of things going on, and maybe we put our business on the back burner a little bit, right? And for me, that was the beginning of the school year, because I was crazy busy at the beginning of the school year and so much going on. And I always was just like, that's okay if I put my coaching business on the back burner a little bit. And there were other times through the school year that it got that way too. But I remember making that change in my head where I decided that I was not going to put this on the back burner. It was that start of the school year that I decided that I was going to find a way to stay consistent with my business activities, that it brought too much happiness and joy, and it was so rewarding. I was not willing to give that up, especially with the way things were at school. I was not willing to give that up with coaching. So my second turning point was when I went to Winter Summit with my larger team in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And so I had met Scotty, but I didn't really get to sit down and talk to him very much. But I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I remember messaging Scotty and asking him specifically, could we sit down and talk? And I wanted to figure out how I could build this business more. And of course, he was more than willing to do so. So it was wonderful when I got to really sit down one-on-one with Scotty. And I sat there and talked to him, told him about everything that was kind of going on. And in my mind during that school year, I told you, I totally accepted the fact of being a full-time teaching mom, and that was what I was going to do the rest of my life until I retired. I accepted that, maybe I wasn't going to get to, I wasn't going to be at the bus stop, wasn't going to be in the morning or in the afternoon. I wasn't going to be able to volunteer in my son's school very much because that was my schedule, and we get like no days off. But I started thinking, what if I could be at the bus stop in the morning? What if I could pick Jordan up? He was going to kindergarten the following school year, so he was, in pre-K and at our child care provider's home. But I was thinking about the following year, and with him going to kindergarten, what if I could be that mom? So I was telling Scotty a lot about this, and he told me to read a book. If you can't steal second with one foot on first. And I went home from that winter summit, and I read that book immediately. It's a very quick read, and I remember finishing that book and having tears in my eyes and going to my husband. And I recommend this so much. If you have a spouse or a significant other, or be open about this business. Tell them what, help them understand this business. I see it with a lot of my coaches, and maybe some of you in this room have spouses or significant others that maybe haven't been the most supportive. But I think it's because you haven't educated them enough, and you need to help them understand what this business is all about and why you want to do what you do, and share those goals with them. And I think because I did that, Rob totally got it. And when I told him after I read that book, so it was like December or January that year, I was like, this has to be my last year of teaching. This has to be, because I didn't want to leave in the middle of a school year, and I didn't want to wait a whole other school year. I wanted to make it happen this school year. So he was so supportive of that because he understood the business. He knew my goals. He knew about, he went to that summit with me, and he saw the bigger picture too. So we obviously didn't make a decision like right that second. All right, I'm leaving teaching that year. We talked about it. We figured out a game plan. We talked to our financial advisor. We did all of the stuff, going into it, thinking about it. But we decided that was going to be my last year as an elementary school teacher, my 10th year. Just skip one. Sorry. So when we talk about our transformations, I didn't have the biggest physical transformation like Karen was talking about. She was talking about the personal development side. So you can see I've done some programs, the 21-Day Fix, Ultimate Reset, and Quarter Force are up there just for, just to name a few. I've done some other ones as well. And I've had great results with our programs. Our programs work, they are amazing. But by far, the biggest transformation I have had has been my spiritual and personal transformation, by far. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that. And I know that I have a different mindset. I have a different belief in myself, confidence, leadership. There are so many things that personal and spiritual development have brought into my life that I wouldn't be where I am today. And so, not keeping up with my cards. In June of 2015, the top left, that was my last day of school. And I retired from teaching after 10 years and became a full-time coach. And I didn't want to get upset, but when I was looking at these pictures, they definitely, have an emotional connection with me. You can see my daughter she's 4.5 now, but as your second child, you don't necessarily get as much one-on-one time with them. So I have had so much one-on-one time with that girl, and I am there for my son when he goes on the bus stop, gets on the bus, when he gets off. That was actually the bus picture, and the picture of us on the steps, that was his first day of kindergarten. So that was a pretty awesome accomplishment. That was what I was working towards. That is, and that it wasn't that way all along. Obviously, it's taken me a while to get here, but it's also been my personal development transformation. Maybe it's taken me longer, but I didn't embrace personal development right away. But when I started to embrace personal development, I was able to get to this point in my life, and I was able to retire from teaching. And often people ask me, do you miss teaching? And I almost feel guilty when I tell them no, because I still teach every single day. I teach and educate my customers and challengers about our products and our challenge groups. I educate and mentor my coaches and my team. I get to be in their classrooms. Jordan is now in first grade and Ashlyn's in pre-K, and I get to volunteer in their classrooms anytime I can. So I have my experience with those little ones too. And the fact that being a full-time coach is able to take my love for health and fitness and teaching and bring it together into one has been amazing. So it's obviously taken me some time to get here. I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary, but now I am ready for a brand new year, 2017, a year where I am ready to be intentional. Who else is ready to have an awesome 2017 and to be intentional with their business? Okay, so let's move on to part of the training that I have. So when I looked up the definition of intentional, it had done on purpose, deliberate. So not by accident, not if you have time, it's on purpose. You are deliberate about it. So you just heard my story and my why. And honestly, it's changed quite a bit, as you can see. But when I've gotten to this point and really sit down and think about my vision and my why, that is the most important part of this. Should be everyone's starting point. So if you look at this, I said to be intentional with discovering or rediscovering. So like I said, maybe you had a different vision and why in the beginning when you started, or maybe you don't even know, maybe you're a brand new coach and you don't even know exactly why you're doing what you're doing or thinking further in the future and having a vision. So I'm gonna reference a lot. Has anyone read the 12-week year? Okay, some of you. It's a great book. If you haven't, I loved it. So if you have read it, you might see some of the things from the book that I used. So these are some questions to help, because in my head, I think I knew my vision and why, but until you actually sit down and write it out and really dig deeper, that's when you're going to see the bigger picture of what you want out of this, what you want your future to look like. So here are just some questions that you can use to help you. I added some at the beginning that pertain to coaching, why you signed up to be a coach. If you've been a coach for a little while, what has it done for you? And what do you want to do for others as a coach? And then there's some more questions just basically for your life in general, not necessarily coaching, but that coaching could help you achieve. So it talks about what legacy do you want to create? What do you want for yourself and for your family? What do you want spiritually? What do you want security-wise? What income do you want from your job? What interests would you like to pursue? And what do you really want to do with the time that you are allotted? So this is everything. This is all areas of your life, spiritually, your relationships, your family, your income, your health, your lifestyle, everything. That's what you should be thinking about. Not just coaching, but thinking, digging deeper, thinking further down the line. What do you want to do with yourself? That's where you need to start, with being intentional with that. Then I sat down and wrote answers to all of those questions. I wrote them out, wrote everything that came to mind. And afterwards, I created my vision board. There's so many different ways that you can create a vision board. There's so many different trainings. I think Scotty just did a training on creating a vision board. But I basically took those questions and created my vision board from that. So you can see I used pictures and quotes and words. I just pulled out different words from the questions that I answered, and this is how I came up with my vision board. I've used PicMonkey before in the past, but this year I found this app, the Hay House Vision Board app, and I found it to be super simple and user-friendly. I felt like after answering all those questions and doing that first, I was able to come up with my vision board pretty quickly. So definitely check that out. But create this and then look at it every single day. Look at that vision board and use this to remember why you're doing the things that you're doing in your business. Okay, this is why you want to have that strong vision and that strong why, and you want to be looking at that vision board each day. Because I'm sure when you think about being intentional in your business, what comes to mind when you think of things that you should be intentional with this business? The vital behaviors, right? So if there are days when you maybe don't have time necessarily, or you don't feel like doing something, you will do it anyways because you have that strong vision and why, and you are looking at that vision board each day. So this looks really tiny up there, I'm sorry. So this is from the 12-week year. This is that emotional cycle of change. So anytime you do any behaviors, you are going to go through this emotional cycle of change. I'm going to use starting a new workout program first as an example. So you'll see that there are 5 different phases. That first phase is uninformed optimism, okay? You and all your challengers at the beginning of the year are like, yes, I am starting a new program. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm going to reach all my goals. Who is feeling like that, or who has had a challenger express that to you at the beginning of the brand new year, right? Okay, so this is that time of year where everyone's really feeling that way. Or any time of year when you're starting a brand new program, your challengers get that way, you get that way, you're excited. When Core de Force came out, I know I was super excited, right? But is it always that way when you're doing a workout program? Absolutely not, okay? So you start going into the informed pessimism, where the benefits don't seem as real or important or immediate. So you're thinking, okay, well, do I have to work out today? I probably don't have to. It's okay, because maybe you're not getting the immediate results that you want to see. We are in a society where everyone wants quick fixes, right? All right, so then they get even deeper into that valley of despair. And they're thinking, this is not working, the scale is not budging, this is so hard, I want to eat more yellow containers, this is not worth it, right? So, but it's those people that push past that. And you almost have to create a mindset where you know that you are going to go through this emotional cycle of change. You have to be ready for that valley of despair, because it's coming for all of us, okay? But if you can get out of it to that informed optimism and then that success and fulfillment where you push through that and you push through that and you see the benefits, you get the results, you lose the weight, you lose the inches, you have a fantastic after picture, right? And you see success. And when we get to that success and fulfillment, that's where that habit is so much easier, right? It's easier to do. So let's talk about it with inviting, one of our vital behaviors, okay? So again, it's a new year. We have lots of big goals for ourselves, right? And you look at this and you think that I am going to invite 5 people a day, and you start inviting and you're getting no, 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 no. Has anyone gone through that? Okay, we've all gone through that, right? And you're like, well, it's just not working. It's not happening. I'm not getting yeses. No one is joining me. This is not worth it. You're in that valley of despair. Guess what? That's where most people quit, okay? That's where personal development also comes in and is very important. But pushing through that and continuing to invite, continuing to build those relationships, continuing to build that trust, you are going to see with time and patience, because we know this business, when you do it right, it takes time. You need to build those relationships. You need to build those trusting relationships. But if you continue to do it and you get used to hearing no, because we're all going to hear no, you're going to get through that valley of despair. You're going to get to that informed optimism, and you are going to get to that success and fulfillment. So that's why it's so important to have a very strong vision and why, so you can push through that valley of despair and eventually get to that success and fulfillment. All right, so another way to be intentional is to be intentional with goal setting. So this means writing down those yearly goals, but then also not just looking, okay, it's January, and if you have a goal by the end of December, you think, I have all the time in the world to meet that goal, right? And that's where it can hurt you a little bit. That's why you should break it down into those quarterly goals or 12-week goals, if you read the book, and even monthly goals. Being intentional about setting those goals for yourself. Where do you want to be by the end of March, beginning of April? Okay? Where do you want to be at the end of January? What do you want to accomplish? And then you can decide exactly what actions you need to take to reach those goals. All right, and this is terrible. I will actually upload the slides, the PDF, to the event, maybe? Would that be helpful? Yeah? Okay. So this is, does anyone use the business activity tracker? Wow, 3, 4 of you. Okay. Well, does anyone use maybe your own form of tracking? Okay, that's a little better. Okay. Well, this is so important, okay? And this is something that I didn't do for a while either, and that's why I said that, growing into that person that I needed to be, that I needed to become through personal development, and deciding to be more intentional with your business, this is one of them. Tracking is so important. And the teacher in me loves the scoring aspect. This was actually very fun for me to create. So it's hard for you to see, but I use the basics. This is probably, I actually have been using my own for a while, so I haven't looked at specifically at the Beachbody's activity tracker, but this is probably very similar. So obviously, being a product of the product is important, so working out daily, Shakeology daily, personal development daily. I just use numbers up here for, your numbers might be different. Obviously, depending on what your goals are, you're gonna decide how many connections you're gonna make daily. I put 5 connections a day. And that's just like, hey, how are you? Building that relationship, having conversation with people. Then 3 invites daily. That's specifically inviting someone to a challenge group or the coaching opportunity. Also, I'm having a hard time seeing it up there too, your team page check-ins, checking in, being up to date with your team page, posting on social media. Again, I put up here 3 times a day, But depending on your goals and how much you want to, how many people you want to reach and get out there, maybe you want to post more like 5 times a day. Also your challenge group check-ins, checking in in the online office, listening to your national wake-up call weekly, listening to their team call weekly, and recognition daily. Okay, so what I did with these is that I gave them a number. Okay, and that's what's hard for you to see. Actually, it's a little bit easier than on the left. So working out, you're going to do that 7 days a week, whether it's a workout or a rest day, right? Rest day counts. If you're doing a program and you have a rest day, that counts. So if you follow that schedule, you follow that plan, each day you do your workout, you get 1 point a day, that's 7 points. Same thing for your Shakeology, for your personal development. When you get to connections, if your goal is to do 5 connections a day, then you should aim to try to get 35 points when you score yourself, right? And so on. Some are only one point a week, some are 7 points a week. But if you look, your goal would be to get, your total would be 128 points, or you would want to get at least 85%. You want your grade to be at least 85% or above, and 85% would be 109 points. Now, what is the benefit of scoring yourself? What's the benefit of tracking? These are the things that you can control in your business, right? These are the things that are going to help you help more people. This is what's going to help you reach Success Club, right? And with Success Club, we're helping more people. When you score yourself, you can see where do you need work, because even in those categories across the board, you can decide, well, this week I scored a 20 out of 35 in that connections category. That you might realize, all right, I need to increase those connections. Or maybe in that inviting category where it should be 21 points, maybe you scored a 10 and you realize, all right, I need to up my game in that category. This helps you feel accomplished. It allows you to see that and score yourself, and you feel good about yourself when you do that. And you can also, week to week, work on improving yourself, work on improving your coaching abilities from week to week. So be intentional about tracking and scoring yourself. All right, a few other things to be intentional with. Be intentional with your message on social media. So I'm sure you've heard this before, but who are you actually trying to speak to? Who are the people you are trying to reach? Are they going to relate to things that you are sharing on social media? That is what you need to think about when you post on social media. Your message, how you're coming across, how people are relating to you, how that's going to help you build a better relationship with them. Are you providing them with valuable content that's going to help them in their life? Think about that. Be intentional. Be intentional with your live videos. So this was advice that I got most recently. I went to the GoPro conference in Las Vegas, and Arnold Nakaha was there, and I was able to sit down and talk to him. And one of the suggestions that he made was to be more intentional with your live videos. So at that point in time, I've been dabbling with live videos, but I was doing it totally at random times and not having any type of theme. And sometimes I'd be working out and be like, okay, people can see me live working out. Maybe it's while I'm cooking something. Maybe, it was just all different times of day. It was just kind of when I thought, okay, I'll go live. But he made the suggestion. He talked about some other coaches that are more consistent with this and have like a common theme. And I thought to myself, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I had no idea what I was going to stick with, what was something that I could be consistent with. And half the time I'm thinking, like, I don't know what's going on in my day with my kids, because I'm working at home, but I have my daughter in pre-K, my son, I work around them, which I am totally fine with, but my schedule is a little bit different each day right now, especially with not completely in school. Both of them not completely in school. So it came to me actually the day that Carl Deichler was on the National Wake Up Call and talked about having the All Access Challenge Pack come out. And he when he talked about that, I just kept thinking, how am I going to share this to everyone? And it was in the morning. I don't always get to listen to the National Wake Up Calls live because I'm with my daughter, but that day we took a seat right by Starbucks and like sat outside of there, and she played on her tablet, and I listened to that call live because I knew it was going to be a big one. And we ended up going home later that day, and we were making lunch, and it just came to me, because I'm a teacher, and I decided that I was going to have a lunch and learn. So I was going to share while I was kind of preparing lunch for Ashlyn and me. I could share about what I was eating for lunch that day and how it fit into my meal plan. And then I basically educated everyone that was watching this video about the new All Access Challenge Pack. And it stuck. So since then, I've been doing lunch and learns. I try to do them at least once a week. They're right around lunchtime. I'm home with my daughter most of the time, so I can fit them in. I don't do them every day, but I'm much more intentional, and I've been able to sit down and actually come up with ideas of things that I can teach about. I'm also using that education teacher background that makes me different from other coaches, right? And I am able to teach about things that are going on in my life, my meal planning, programs, whatever. There are so many different ideas that I can come up with for those lunch and learns, and they've been really working well. I just did a lunch and learn yesterday from the Denver airport about traveling tips and staying on track while you're traveling. All right, being intentional with your personal development. And like I said, this was my biggest transformation, and I think since I have become more intentional with what personal development I'm doing, when I'm doing my personal development. Has anyone read The Miracle Morning? Okay, yes, I totally agree. I actually read it or listened to it because I will tell you, I did a lot of personal development through audio because that's how I fit it in initially. And so I listened to it early on. I got the concept. I thought it was a great idea, but I didn't implement it. And I know, she just shook her hand but this year, as I was, like I said, I've had such a huge year of growth. I think about where I was even just last year at this time and where I am now, and it's such a different place. I feel a very different person starting this year off, especially with my business. And so just in September, I decided I'm gonna reread this. And I already knew the Miracle Morning Routine, so I decided I was going to start the Miracle Morning Routine and reread this book as part of that routine. So basically my routine, I wake up every day, I walk downstairs into my basement where I work out, but I sit there while I'm sipping on my Energize, and my silence is prayer. I move into my positive affirmations. I have a journal that I use specifically for gratitude, and then I go into visualization. That's where that vision board comes in handy, and then I move on to my workout, and I get my workout done. Oh no, I do my personal development. I read, like I said, I did a lot of audio, but I was reading. I made sure that I found that when I read in the morning, and that was the best time for me, because if I tried to read before bed, that wasn't happening. I was going to sleep. So doing that routine and sticking with it has been huge. So becoming more intentional, even scheduling when you're going to do your personal development, deciding what kind of personal development you need. Look at those goals and decide what kind of person do you need to be. What kind of personal development is going to help you be that person you need to be. Sharing about your health and fitness journey and the coaching opportunity. Like I said, I have that fitness background, so it came naturally for me to share the fitness part, to share my workouts, to share being a product of the product, to share teaching my classes. That came easy for me, but I needed to be more intentional with sharing the coaching opportunity. If you want people to become a challenger, go through that vital process, and eventually become a coach, you have to share about the coaching opportunity. They have to know about that coaching opportunity, and how does it fit into your life? How does it fit into your busy schedule? How does it benefit you? How is it rewarding to you? People need to hear that from you. And be intentional with who you surround yourself with. And I think this is something very important too. I know that, we all have come from different teams, larger teams, smaller teams, whether it's the team you plug yourself into and the people you're involved with there, whether it's a success partner, or whether it's a small group of people. But if you want to do something with this business and you want to be consistent with the vital behaviors and you want to reach your goals, you need to surround yourself with people and be intentional about it, with other people who want to do the same things as you, who want to make the vital behaviors a priority, who want it as much as you. Because if, we have our own businesses, yes, and that's great. You're your own boss. You get to do things the way you want. But what's also great is we have all these people in this room, all these people on our teams that are so willing to share things and help each other, encourage, support. And you need to plug into that and be around those people so it helps enable you and motivate you to do the things that you need to do to go after your goals. And so this was Tony Robbins' quote, "Our rituals define us." So when you're being intentional and you have those rituals and you have those habits, that is what's going to define you and define yourself in this business. All right, so I'm going to leave you with one more Tony Robbins quote. "We all act consistent with who we believe we are." So my hope for all of you is that you leave today, you leave this room knowing that you are capable of so much more in 2017, and you believe that you are capable of these things because you are going to act consistently with how you feel. And my wish is that you take even just one thing, because we can come to these events, we can listen, we can take notes, we can take pictures. I've seen taking pictures. We can do all that, but does that matter if you don't take action? It doesn't at all. So my hope for you is to leave this room today and at least take one thing, if not more, with you and put it into action, implement it right away, right? Okay. Thank you so much. I know we have the corporate video to watch, but I will also be working out with you too. So hopefully you're staying for Insanity Live as well. All right, thanks, guys.